Welcome back to the Fannie Awards, everybody. It's me, Andrew Fantasia, your host, and it is day 8 of the Fannie Awards, which means we're in the top 3 now already. If I had bronze and silver versions of these, you bet your ass I would be giving them out in that order, but, you know, such is life. They only come in gold. What a shame. But it's really exciting because we get to talk about the 3 best movies of the year from this point forward, so let's not waste any more time. What was the 3rd best film of 2023? If I had a bronze Fannie, the bronze Fannie is going to go to Godzilla -1. In 1998, my dad took me to see my very first kaiju film. It may have been called Godzilla, but I had no idea that what I was watching, fun as it was just a facsimile. Fast forward to today when I've seen my fair share of the big nuclear dinosaur, and I thought I'd seen all there was to see, until I saw Godzilla -1. Going into this, I was convinced it was going to be overhyped, but it wasn't. Everything about this movie just works. Godzilla is a bad guy again, and he's terrifying. The World War II setting leads to some gorgeous, gritty cinematography with a subdued color palette, and yet, unlike the modern American Godzilla films, you can actually see what the hell is happening. And of course, there's the 2-armed, 2-legged, tailless elephant in the room. Namely, in 70 years, this is the first Godzilla, maybe even the first kaiju movie, where I genuinely cared about the humans. And I can't understate that. Not only did I care for them, I was gripping my armrests with white knuckles, just pleading for them to make it out of this okay. When everything comes to a head during the big final battle, things look grim and, well, I've never gotten that emotional in a monster movie before. A kaiju movie made me cry. A kaiju movie. Like, that's a miracle. All I kept thinking on the drive home was, they did it. They made the Godzilla film. It's so good that I don't want them to make any more. That's it. -1 teases a sequel, but I don't want it. Just stop here. We're good. We'll never be better. Honestly, at this point, the legendary Monsterverse, they should just stop trying. Like, honestly. What are they even doing anymore? Okay, now it's time to talk about the most underrated motion picture of the year. Every year we give this award out to a movie that either doesn't get the amount of love it deserves, or gets more hate than it deserves, or maybe even a combination of the two. Movies that are unsung heroes, that just need to be given a chance by the general population. More often than not, there's some smaller pictures on here. This year, though, some of them skew on the much, much bigger side. And you'll see what I mean, because here are the nominees for most underrated movie of the year. 65. The Flash. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. No One Will Save You. Polite Society. Okay, here we go. The winner of the most underrated Fannie is The Flash. Okay, where do I begin? I guess the best place to start would be by making it clear for the record, even though I like this movie, I do not like Ezra Miller. In fact, Ezra Miller creeps me right the hell out, and I don't condone anything they do. Now, I haven't seen all of the DCEU films yet. The ones I've watched have ranged from just okay to pretty damn awesome. And then along comes The Flash, and it's incredibly heartfelt and very fun. And everybody loathes it. It spent the past 8 months being the butt of countless jokes. Twitter is the most wretched hive of scum and villainy there is, so I'm not shocked that it's a den of negativity where The Flash is concerned, but the sheer hate this movie gets is baffling. People say they hate it because the CGI is bad, or they hate it because they hate the DCEU, or they hate it because they hate Ezra Miller, or because they hate Warner Brothers. A lot of hate is swirling around everything but the movie itself, and yet the movie takes the brunt of it. And in my non-professional but just sincerely human opinion, this is probably the best motion picture you could make about this character. It is genuinely good. Had this exact film come out in, say, 2012, people would have loved it the same way they loved Into the Spider-Verse. And you know what? Forgive me, but I'm going to get serious here for a minute. The general immature hatred that certain DC moments have gotten is very troubling to me. Particularly people, snort laughing at the whole Martha scene from Batman v Superman, and now all the Twitter trolls who just love talking about how bad the CGI was in The Flash, but for some strange reason, they never seem to bring up the final scene between Flash and his mother and how emotionally beautiful that was and how it was the whole crux of the movie to begin with. Strangely, they always leave that part out. And honestly, not to get too heavy about it, but I feel like the people who snort at those scenes and deride the scenes, those people clearly have never had to deal with the sudden loss of a loved one. That's all there is to it. Because if they had, then clearly they'd have more empathy. And I hope they never have to deal with the sudden loss of a loved one, because I don't think they're mature enough to handle it if the way they've acted on Twitter is any indication. Look, Flash is not the best movie of the year. Not for me, at least. But the fact that so many people refuse to acknowledge the truly great parts of it, that says a lot more about those people than it does about the movie. But hey, that's enough for today. That'll do it. I'm sure the comments section is not going to be pretty on this one, but I said what I said. Flash is the most underrated film of the year. Tomorrow, we're in the top 2, and we're going to have to get negative again because we got to give out a special stinking Fannie Award to the biggest cinematic turd of the year. That's right, we're talking the most disappointing motion picture. That all happens in 24 hours. Stick around, we'll be right back.